Okay. The first question goes to you, Milva, being the founder of Women Leaders in Pharma. Please give us an insight into this initiative, why it was formed, and how it works.
Well, thank you for that question. I mean, it was by serendipity initially. To be quite honest with you, the company I was working for about 3 years ago had gone through a series of layoffs for restructuring, and a lot of the layoffs were women. So I organized a get-together, women only, so that we could talk, because there were women that were going through that layoff period. There were others that had survived it and got out of it with new challenges, very positive challenges. And there were others that were still in the company and feeling good about it. So it was just a moment to share. We were supposed to be 10. We ended up being about 50. And they enjoyed it so much that at the end of the day, they've asked me when's the next one, but I didn't expect to make a next one. And realizing the power of the networking that happened that night kind of made me feel that there was something missing. So I looked out for associations that could fill that gap. And, I would join an association if it was out there. Then I reached out to a few ex-colleagues, and they told me, no, there's nothing really. And I said, okay, time to create something so that we could support each other. And, the first get together that happened by serendipity was in April 2018. And in June 2018, we had the first Future Founders meeting. We were 5 of us in my kitchen, right next door. And we had lunch, and we decided that, yes, this was something that we wanted to do all together. And that's how it started. The one thing we all felt was key, the main pillar, that if we had to name one reason why we were creating this group, was to empower each other. Because that's what I saw that night, was women supporting women, women being there for women. So that's why we created Women Leaders in Pharma, and the rest is, how it works. We're still figuring it out, because as Sanobar may be testament to this, we had a growth that we didn't expect. We launched officially in February 2019. And a year later, we were hit with the pandemic like the rest of the world. And we had to adjust and, figure out how to best support women in this pandemic, women in our industry and outside our industry, how to best support them in this pandemic. So work in progress in terms of how we work. But I think we're producing content that is interesting, because we now have 6,000 followers, more than 6,000 followers on LinkedIn. So I think we're putting out there content that is appropriate.
Okay. So the next question, any of you can answer. According to the recent study, women in healthcare represent only 65% of the workforce. So despite their work influence and the work integrity, the number of women in top leadership positions is discouragingly low. How would you view this? And what is how would Women Leadership Association, as an association for women leaders, how would you take this up?
You want to take it, Sanobar?
After you.
Okay, I think that, we need really to change the way we approach work in general. As Sanobar said to me a few minutes ago, I think we need to really change the narrative in terms of how we approach the workforce in general. There you cited some numbers there, and I've recently read an interesting book from Harvard professor that a bit drew out why there are so many men in the CEO positions, but that's across industries. It's because the recruiting process is very much built on characteristics that are where men are predominant psychologically. They are stronger than women, if you wish to call them stronger. So there are characteristics that are fundamental in making it ahead in this world that are mainly masculine traits. I think we need to change that narrative. I think because the conclusions that this author, who published, I think, around 10 books on this, and has worked with a multitude of scientists on this and did quite a bit of research, the conclusion is that it's not necessarily healthy to be so predominantly male-oriented in the selection processes that you go through. So I do think that we need to change the mindset. And I think an association like Women Leaders in Pharma is there to make sure that we work from within, that we have women that have the tools, have the know-how to change and bring about change, and support other women to produce this change. I'll give you a little example of what happened just recently, because we do have mentoring programs, we do have coaching programs, but the best thing is the networking also. So we had a few situations, and I think there were about 6 or 7 women in the last 2 months that took major challenges in their careers. Some of them were faced with choosing new positions that were higher positions. So they had to negotiate contracts, they had to see, how to go about benefits, how to make sure that they were paid fair. So we talked amongst ourselves. We were there to say, point blank, this is my salary. What do you think? These are my benefits. What do you think? Should I ask for more? What are the comparables? So having that sounding board, and also having that sounding board, as there were women who were approached for VP positions and were doubtful. And we were there saying, yes, you can. You have the competencies. Try it out. And so far, I must say that this is the best way to change things from within, changing the narrative and making sure that we have the tools to do it. So I'll pass it on to Sanobar.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Milva, and I totally agree to this. To your question, Sujata, when we see that there is 65% of women workforce with a buying power, with a lot of I would say fluidity in how they can empower themselves. However, still the leadership position isn't there. A lot of times, women, I think, are also harsh on ourselves, being women. Like, we doubt, we have imposter syndrome sometimes, we have a lot of family responsibilities. We come sometimes doubt, okay, can we do this, can we do that or not? But it's very important to support them in a way wherein we are holding hands, and we are, like to Milva's point, WLP has coaching and mentoring programs. So what essentially we do here is we would have a team of women who would be a coach and a mentor. Now, if somebody is a mentor, at some point, they would be a coach to somebody else. So it's like a value chain driven activity. So one person can be a coach and a mentor at the same time. So as much as you give, you receive. So it's that kind of an equation which we are trying to develop. A lot of times when there is somebody who supports, for example, me, okay, you can do it, or you have it in you, that confidence and that support, I think, works wonders. And a platform like Women Leaders in Pharma, we've seen a lot of, women making career decisions, sector change decisions on a lot of work-life issues, work-life balance with COVID. A lot of people, a lot of women needed support. So we were all there. It's part of the community. It's part of that passionate community. And a lot of women are ready to volunteer, are ready to, be part of this and take this further because they see that common purpose. They see that common vision of supporting women. So if this is we are acting as a change agent and we are in this pharma industry, we envision that we will make a change in the value chain of, say, example, recruiting, value chain of accepting, value chain of giving an opportunity for women who might not be considered traditionally for those roles. So I think that's very important. We see ourselves as change agents. We see ourselves as changing the narrative and, having that vision insight, which is in essence to help women.
Okay.
Yep.
So,
Sujata.
You mentioned about the services which are offered by WLP, like coaching, like consultations. So, can you give me a little more insight into that?
Sanobar, you want to go?
Yes, sure. So at WLP, we take we have 5 committees, and we have all these committees form 5 pillars, as I would say, for women leaders in pharma. These each pillars kind of contribute towards each other, and we work in unison towards our mission. So one of the committee is the coaching and mentoring, and we have a very able leader from the industry who is leading this team. So what we do here is we kind of map the women who are looking to be mentors, um, because there are a lot of women who want to give back. And a lot of times we think, oh, how I wish I knew this when I was in 25s or my 30s. So we give them that opportunity. A lot of women are there in their maybe 25, 30s, 35s, whatever age group. They look to these women, oh, how I wish I could be here. Or how did she do this? How did she reach there? So there are so many questions where both sides of the spectrum have. So what we do at WLP, we kind of connect them together. We have a very good proprietary tool and a system where we map the needs based on some KPIs, which is the key performance indicators, and what is the wish list and what is the need of these women. And then we map them. We usually have like a 3-month coaching and mentoring program wherein we exchange. Another thing, it's not that if you're mapped to a mentor, you only can talk to them. You do have a flexibility to connect within the common network. So these are some of the programs which are curated to what you are looking for. Everybody is individual and with their individual needs. So we talk it out, we leave it to the mentor and mentee, to that relationship, how you nurture. I have seen via WLP a lot of references, a lot of opportunities coming your way, which otherwise wouldn't have come if you don't know the right people or the right at the right time. So I think it opens up a lot of opportunities. Coaching mentoring is truly one of the I would say one of the standard star programs at WLP, which is truly benefiting a lot of women. And we are growing there. Like we started this program in 2019, and we are in the path. We are seeing a lot of interest, and we are growing this program. We are receiving a lot of interest in being on both sides. So I think it's growing, and with so much buzz around WLP, I think things are going to get better as they go next year.
There is one thing I would like to add to what Sanobar just said, is that with WLP, what we've seen is that a lot of our senior leaders have to go through the international path to then get general manager positions or global positions of a certain weight. So, of the founding members, we were 5, and 3 of the 5 had international careers. Actually, 2 are now abroad Canada, and I had mainly an outside of Canada career, global. I think I worked in just about every country except, aside from India, US. But, you have that other mindset. So you have to, and you understand that that's a path that may be more difficult for women, because that means uprooting your family. It may be more easy for maybe men, not sure. However, if we're there to support each other in these moments, in that kind of mentoring, well, it is another thing that we're giving women. I have been contacted by a few women that did go abroad, knowing that I had that experience. So this is what WLP provides. It's that contact to resources that you wouldn't normally have otherwise. So, I've been contacted because somebody was moving to Switzerland and said, how, I'm moving there, but do you know people there aside from the company that is moving me? What else can I do? But I know people in Switzerland, so I put them in contact. And that's those small things, the networking, the mentoring, the letting, being there for women. The other thing is, during this period of the pandemic, we have to ensure that we're there even more so than before. Because it's not just our industry. I think it's our industry, and in some cases even more predominantly elsewhere. But we have a mental health crisis that has derived from this. So we need to be there for each other now and for the future, because I'm not sure that we're going to get out of this quite, once everybody's vaccinated. I think we're going to need to work on this. So I foresee that, the coaching, the mentoring will also take those aspects in consideration for the future.
Okay. Yes, and one more point there. I think I like to summarize this by saying that when I need somebody, I know that I can get an advice with a group of women or somebody who's lived what I'm trying to live. So that experience when I get, I think it makes me much more in a better position than having nobody or having to ask Mr. Google, for example.
Okay. Why should companies be worried about the lack of women in pharma?
I'll take this one. I think companies should not be worried only about lack of women in pharma. I think pharma companies need to ensure that the diversity that they have within the fiber of their employees is best leveraged and supported, is better leveraged and supported within the work environment. Why am I talking about not only women? Because to be quite honest with you, I think culture is important. I think understanding the generational gap is also is also important. And it's important for me for one, the fundamental reason for why our industry is our industry, which is patient. You need to ensure that you embrace that diversity, be it gender, generational, racial, to better to better support the diagnosis, the treatment, the medical approaches. In Europe, we have very different cultures. And if you don't understand the culture, how they approach, for example, pain, you will not understand how to best support patients in that. There are groups of countries that retain pain as a normal process of life. So if you show up to your physician and say, I'm in pain, Well, odds are, before you get treatment, it's going to take longer than in other countries where pain is not viewed as a normal part of life. So understanding that cultural part will best put the pharma industry in a position to better support patients. And I'm not saying push pills. I'm saying support people that suffer, support people that are sick. If you understand the differences and you understand the commonalities, then you're better suited to support the patient. And we put the patients in the middle. So be it women, be it millennials, be it older generations like mine, be it women, be it men. We need to understand those cultures, those cultural differences. And I think that that is fundamental. We're seeing it with the COVID situation, where there are cultures that are anti-vaccine. There are races that are more impacted, as we see in the US. So you better, the better you understand that, the better you will support what needs to change so that we get out of this pandemic. But this pandemic is just an example. So, yeah.
Yeah, and my point to add on to what Milva, I think she made a very relevant point there, that at the end of the day, it's we have to understand the culture, how patients and how pharma kind of work all together hand in hand. There's another point here, and I've experienced this myself at WLP, that when like the question you asked, Sujata, that why should we worry that there are not a lot of women representation, right? So in Women Leaders in Pharma, I've come across, women who come and say, oh, wow, I see, for example, at the WLP board level or at the executive level, the true representation and diversity. So you have a very good mix of a lot of people, a lot of women who are from different diverse cultural, racial, a lot of are maybe, are new to Canada, some must be born and brought up here. So there's so much of a good mix of women. And when we have those 6,000 or 6,000 plus followers, why do they follow us? Because they see a representation of themselves in our team, in our committees, in our actions. And that's what, empowers or impresses them to join us. Because if I see somebody like, myself in a board or, at a position which is very leadership, or, how did she, go up there, it kind of motivates me that, okay, she did it, I could do it. So as Kamala Harris mentioned, that I may be the first, but I'm not the last. So I think that's kind of a motto which I believe WLP is trying to set. And I think we're on the right path, and this is just a matter of time. We are seeing a lot of, movement, and it's just a matter of time. It's going to turn as a revolution for sure.
Okay, this partially answers my next question, wherein there is a severe lack of female role models or mentors, and this may reflect on how poorly the industry is able to retain the female workforce, even at the entry level. So what are your thoughts on the same? How do we retain female workforce? Because when it comes to female workforce in any industry, not just in pharma, there are other responsibilities, the familial responsibilities which come onto them, and then they just move away. How do we, how WLP can help, or how they can carve a path for women in pharma or biotech or in life science to come ahead and grow in their career?
I'll let you take that one, Sanobar.
Okay, thank you. I think that's a very good question, and it's a question not only for pharma industry. It's, I think, for every industry, any workforce across the world. Everybody has a career life cycle. Everybody has a personal life cycle. But for women, when we come with the personal life cycle, we have maybe different responsibilities at different stages, and which is correct, because at the end we want to live a full life. But what happens is, there are 2 or 3 things to be diagnosed. if somebody is leaving the industry because of familial responsibilities, they need to get a support. For example, an event in a woman's life would be bearing a child. And if because non-availability of resources when she could get back to work is a hindrance, I think it's time for pharma industry or any sector to sit and take notice that this was a great talent we had. She took a break. We need to embrace that coming back. We need to give that opportunities that women are encouraged that they can come back and begin at the same level where they left. We need to give them the promotion opportunities. We need to give them that level playing field. Like the women, a lot of times they think that, okay, if I go on a mat leave or if I go, I would lose on a promotion. I would again have to start where I had to prove myself again. So these are some of the thoughts which are ingrained in the system, which has to be systemically removed. So there are various I would say studies, various Harvard Business Review journals talking about re-entering women for workforce. This is just one segment. The other familial responsibility can be like a caregiver, or a woman could be a caregiver to somebody in the family member. So there are so many events. These are just a couple of one which I just picked up right now, but it is very important for the company, the sector, to have policies in place that they welcome women back. At the same time, from a WLP perspective, what we do is we kind of give that network where women in the same stage of life could connect with each other, maybe share notes, exchange notes, and then they know, okay, this is what might be. There's no loss and win. There's only learnings, I believe. So you might learn with somebody's experience and what to do, what not to do. A lot of times, maybe, we as women, we also think a lot, oh, okay, I'm torn between these two things, my career and my family, what should I pick? And we are very harsh on ourselves. We start, judging ourselves. WLP, I think, gives that platform where you have a lot of women who went through the same, journey, and you can connect and talk with somebody who is professionally at your level, who is there, who's kind of done this and, been there, done that. So I think those are some of those challenges or, gaps, which in a very slow and steady way, we are trying to fill it. Milva.
I would like to add just one thing, and this is I think a crux of mine, because I'm a mother of two, of a boy and a girl, and I think that as women we have a great influence on how the next generation will be, both the women and the men. So I hope that by having these activities, by having these conversations, both within our industry and outside of industry, we will raise a next generation that will be more respectful of diversity and embrace inclusion. So my personal thought, and I think that it's shared by quite a few women that are in Women Leaders in Pharma, is to be a role model within society also. Women Leaders in Pharma is a platform. It gives me tools. It gives women tools. It will give the next generation a better place to start off with. I agree with Sanobar. We are generally the caregivers. There's also a mindset that we have that is above and beyond the industry that we'll work for or the company that we work for. My daughter may not like me saying this, but when she negotiates salaries, we have to have a conversation before she negotiates, because she's tendentially happier faster than I think she should be. My son, a bit harsher on negotiations, intrinsically harsher on negotiations. I've seen friends of my daughter putting their career on hold because they were getting married. yes, it is important to get married, but that, you put everything on hold for the wedding. So it's just like, can we have a balance? It is important for you to have a wonderful wedding, but it doesn't mean that if there's an opportunity, it will create havoc in your life. So it's that mindset that we need to support and not oppress, support. So as a
Yeah,
mother.
and truly, truly. And when we talk about diversity and inclusivity, I always believe we should also have diversity in thoughts, diversity and inclusion in thoughts, because you might have visual representation, but there is no acceptance in inclusiveness of thoughts. I think kind of doesn't take it anywhere. So very important to what Milva said, that we raise the next generation, or we consciously make that effort to have that mindset, which truly forms the next generation. It is easier for them, like it is easier for me what my early generation did for me. So we need to kind of keep the ball rolling there.
Okay. So the final question. WLP has been doing a lot in Canada. So do you have plans for Indian students or Indian pharma, um, for Indian pharma professionals, who, if I may say, are a lot in number, because India is a pharma and life science hub, and uh, with lot many things happening across the world during this pandemic, and the Indian pharma industry has opened up a lot. So, is there any plans for, um, any plans for India in your initiative? For example, if a student is interested, a biotech student is interested in pursuing higher education, and if they don't know how and where to go and what kind of a career path to choose, is there
I can't hear.
Me too.
hello, hello, can you hear me?
Now
Yes,
we
we
can.
lost you momentarily. Yeah.
Okay, so my question
So,
is WLP, and any plan for um, reaching out to the Indian counterpart?
I'll take this one so that Sanobar will not get in trouble with anybody else. We are starting to figure out how to work in Canada. We are putting in place activities that can be accessed by anybody in the world. So as of January, we will have book clubs and podcasts. Now, in terms of reaching out and having activities like we have in Canada, we are working on it. The executive group that is in place in Canada right now focuses on Canada. We have a smaller committee that is starting to work on the international scene. And I'll be quite honest with you, this was put in place because we receive a lot of demands from requests from abroad, be it Europe, be it Asia, Middle East. So I am passionate about ensuring that all women, no matter where they live or how the industry in their country is structured, have access to other women that can empower them. So in a nutshell, that's what we can say about our intentions for the future, but international is certainly our intention to provide that network, to provide that place, to get the tools and to change our narrative from the inside. So yes, we're working on it. It's work in progress. So we'll leave it at that for now. We won't expose any more, as we need to make sure also that we approach it from a governance standpoint and from an appropriate nonprofit approach, just to make sure that we oblige the laws of the countries we are getting in. So work in progress, but we certainly will expand. We feel that all women should have equal opportunities.
And I think my message to your audience, Sujata, would be that if anybody's interested, we do have, you know, webinars and programs. I know there would be a time difference, but if somebody wants to kind of, you know, listen to podcasts, as Milva is saying, I think you could always start doing that. You could always, you know, listen to podcasts irrespective of your time zone. You could start, you know, join the book clubs, or you could, you know, do some, you can attend events if you have that time permitting. But there are ways you could, you know, start, you know, you could like our LinkedIn page. You could see, you know, how we are, you know, operating, at least in Canada, and kind of have those, you know, maybe, you know, expose yourself to what Women Leaders Pharma is truly is. And then when time comes, as Milva said, we will see how it goes. But you could, you know, for the best way is, you know, like our LinkedIn page. You would be, you know, updated with what activities we are doing, what events we are doing, and at least you would know as to, okay, is this something which you would be interested in? Should we come there?
And you could always contact us.
Yeah.
Reach out. There will be, at the end of this interview, there will be an email address that will be provided to you so that you can reach out, write us a note if you are interested. India, Asia, be it Indonesia, Singapore, wherever you live. We're all women. We're facing some of the same things. Some things are different. We're cognizant of that. And I think that we're there for each other. And I think that that's the best thing that we can have.
Yes, you could anytime reach out to me. Also, you know, if you via the email which we will share, I think you know, that will be a good idea to see if there is an interest in how we could, you know, maybe help. As Milva said, we want to, you know, help women sans frontiers.
Thank you, Milva, and thank you, Sanobar, for this interview, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.